folks. Hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at Tenkar's Tavern blog. So, today is Halloween, and what you see pictured on the screen is the created by Bruce Nesmith, a Ravenloft adventure for levels 2 to 4. Now, I'm bringing this up because I used to try to, for Halloween or the weekend, I guess usually the weekend prior to Halloween, because once Halloween passed, Halloween was gone, right? I would try to run a horror. Nice, I should use horror in quotation marks. A horror adventure for my players. And this was back in my college days, my days after college. So, one that I ran probably twice was the created. And now, why did I come back to the created? Because it was a low level adventure. A lot of times I would have my players use their henchmen. All your henchmen get whisked away to Ravenloft. This way, it didn't upset the main whatever meta plot or storyline that my players were chasing after. Because Ravenloft, as it was written or as it was presented, was mostly for one-offs, short story arcs. Your players encounter myths, and they come out in myths in this small hamlet of these poor people who seem horribly afraid of strangers and have never seen a halfling before. So the creative was an interesting diversion, but I've also used others. I've done Call of Cthulhu, and I actually miss Call of Cthulhu. It's something that I think at my next convention that I go to and I actually play in games, I'm going to find a Call of Cthulhu session for myself and Rachel to play in. It's been, well, probably close to 30 years since I've run a Call of Cthulhu adventure. So I guess I was probably around 23, 24, and I've never played as a player in one. And I believe that Call of Cthulhu handles the horror better than Ravenloft. Better than Ravenloft. What's the issue with Ravenloft when it comes to horror is that Ravenloft is a mishmash. All right, it's bits and pieces of little bits of random horror elements thrown together into this setting, and your players encounter one aspect of the setting or another aspect of the setting. But these all are, they're small, and everything also is, it's fantasized. It's turned into a fantasy version, and fantasy horror does not generally work as well as um, the horror that we're used to in books from H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King. Things that you can relate to in real life seems to make horror more horrible, right? When you can pull out magic spells, horror seems less like horror. When most of what you encounter drives you insane, and just the idea of survival is enough to push the party on, as opposed to becoming great and powerful. That's, I think it's huge in driving home that aspect of horror. So I'd be very curious to see from my listeners how you treat horror. I mean, I could never run a long term Call of Cthulhu campaign. I don't believe that I have players that will embrace maybe for 3 or 4 sessions. But if we're talking 10, 12, 15 sessions, a full size campaign, I don't think that I know of many players that have, I don't want to say the patience, but the grit to stick with uh, something where the game setting expects failure and success is merely survival. I think that that's fun at a gaming convention. It can be fun as a multi night diversion for your group because you juxtapose it toward what you would normally be playing. But to run like a multi-year, I mean, you can run like a multi-year D&D campaign, keep the players interested. I don't know if you can do the same with Call of Cthulhu or any real horror game because once the horror becomes commonplace, is it really as horrible? I mean, The Walking Dead. I enjoyed the first 2 or 3 seasons of The Walking Dead as a viewer, and then as it went on, and it was more of the damn Walking Dead. And yes, they tried to show how humans themselves were probably, in a lot of ways, scarier and more dangerous than The Walking Dead. But the fact remained is that The Walking Dead then went from being scary to being a plot device to being something like a poster on the wall. Just like, oh yeah, well they're there again, which I don't think works well for horror. Again, The Walking Dead is an exception when it comes to TV series, and it's got. I know people who love the series, but yeah, Rachel and I tapped out probably around somewhere around season 3 because it wasn't scary anymore. Right? It wasn't driving you, and I think you have to know when that limit is. So I think Call of Cthulhu, I think you have to, or even Ravenloft. Again, I think that the idea that Ravenloft, your players come through the mist, they deal with it as they deal with, and then 1, 2, 3 sessions later, they're back in their real world. They're going, holy shit, thank gosh that we made it through, and now we're back to normality. Is great, but if they wind up staying in Ravenloft, then it becomes a bunch of horror tropes, right? It kind of loses the influence, I would say. So, just my thoughts on horror and Halloween. Figured it was a good day to address it. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, I have a link, and it's to event.stjude.org/10 Tavern. And what is that for? If you look at this YouTube channel for yesterday, there's about an hour and a half of me either dressed as a 1980s metal band rocker from hell or a 90s pro wrestler. You can take your choice. Certainly looks like it was done for the Halloween dress up weekend. But Rach is a certified yoga instructor. I am certified, maybe insane, but not quite. And Rach put me through my yoga paces in my outfit for a good cause to raise money for St. Jude. So right now we are, and I will give you the exact amount, we are at $887 raised for St. Jude's. Now, this is Halloween.
How much did you say?
887.
Nice.
So if we hit 1,000 before the end of before midnight Thursday, so I guess 12:01 Friday of this week, I will dye my hair blue. And if we hit 1,200, I will take my wonderful outfit that I wore last week with my blue hair and walk our dog, Donka, for at least an hour at Forest Park, which is a fairly large and populated park here in Queens. And if we hit 1,500 out of 1,500 by the end of this month, the rest of the month of November hit that. If we hit that, I will go out with blue hair, my wild tie-dyed tank top, and probably the Taco Cat, because the Taco Cat's pants has pockets. And I will go food shopping at a local supermarket, and Rach will videotape much of it with the phone, because we're trying to raise money for a good cause. And if that means that Tenkar must be embarrassed, well, so be it, right? It's for a good cause, and it's been a lot of fun. And I really, I'm 800 and almost $900 raised blows my mind. You all are a very generous community. I think I've mentioned that in the past when we've tried to raise money for members of this community that are in need, and it happens. Well, right now, we're helping kids fighting cancer and other illnesses, and I couldn't think of a better organization to support. So, as Rach in the background tries to give me a copyright strike, no idea what she was playing.
I have no idea either. I think it's an advertisement.
It's an advertisement popping up on her phone. I'd like to, I would like to recommend. I like to remind folks that we are still in the midst of the world of COVID. And really, what does that mean? Depends on where you live, but I'm going to tell you right now. I only ask one thing: use your common sense. Okay. I'm not saying get vaccinated. I'm not saying wear a mask. Use your common sense. You know your health risk. You know your situation and the situation of members of your family. So um, take actions or precautions that keep yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones healthy and safe. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I will be back tomorrow, perchance, from the Poconos. We shall see. All right, folks. On that note, I'm out of here.